Continuing our series of Super Nintendo wrestling games based on Japanese carts released in 1994, it's Natsume Championship Wrestling, released in North America in June 1994. Natsume is probably best known as the creators of the Harvest Moon series, and in the 90s they made a lot of quirky, underrated games like Wild Guns and Pocky and Rocky. As a bit of background, Natsume acquired the license for All Japan Pro Wrestling in the mid-90s, and pumped out 5 games in just under 2 years, under the Zen Nippon series. The first, Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling, the game Natsume Championship Wrestling was based on, was released in Japan in July of 1993, and its sequel, Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling - Sekai Psycho Tag, came out a mere 5 months later. To no one's surprise, it's not much different from its predecessor. Kind of like those championship editions of Capcom fighting games that maybe feature a few tweaks and some different characters. Out next was Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling Fight to Pon, released in June 1994, a total departure that takes a lighter approach, which is a nice way of saying it's completely bonkers. I mean, look at this. People have recommended this game to me, and I'd love to play it, but of course it's in Japanese. Still, even if I spoke the language, I'd likely be very confused. July of the same year saw the release of Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling Jet, a Game Boy version that looks surprisingly faithful. Last, and far from least, was Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2, 3-4 Budokan. I have no idea where the 2 comes from, since this clearly isn't the second game in the series by any means. I imagine the 3-4 means March 4th, since there was a Budokan on March 4th right before the game came out. The game looks awesome. It features the biggest roster at a robust 19 competitors, including Joel Deaton. Joel Deaton got to be in a video game. It also features a booking mode where you can plan out the card for a Budokan show and see if you can fill the place up, which is crazy ahead of its time. There were future Zen Nippon games, but for different systems and without Natsume's involvement. Natsume Championship Wrestling has all your All Japan favorites from the mid-90s, but everyone has a different name and their appearances have been somewhat altered. But you can tell who's who, and you get comical names like Asteroid for Akira Taue and Big Ape for Steve Williams. But everyone you expect is here. Misawa, Kobashi, Kawada, Stan Hansen, Johnny Ace.
That's people power.
And Dan Spivey gets to be in a video game too. The Japanese version had 16 wrestlers, where Natsume only had 12. Conspicuous by his absence is Giant Baba, and probably due to a licensing agreement. But here he is in a commercial for the game, not giving a shit. 王道を行く全日本プロレスがついにスーパーファミコンに強豪16選手が繰り広げるスーパーバトル超リアルプロレスゲーム全日本プロレス新発売メサイア Also missing is the Patriot, but you'd think if one guy was going to make it into the North American version, it'd be the Patriot. Wow, look at these exciting menus. Nothing like Courier Font to get you pumped to play. For singles mode, you can do either Exhibition, Championship mode, or, of course, a round robin. Sadly, there are a few modes that didn't make the cut from Japan. A team battle mode that sounds like a Captain's Fall match, a 4-way match you can play with 3 friends if you have a multi-tap, and training mode, where Giant Baba beats you up in an empty arena. Good news, there's also a tag feature in addition to singles action.
But I'm afraid I've got some bad news!
There's no single-player exhibition. If you want to play tag mode solo, you either have to do the championship mode or round robin. Worse news, if you do play championship mode or round robin, you can't pick and choose your own team. You have to choose from 6 preset teams. What an atrocious idea. Most of the fun of tag mode is mixing and matching different combinations. Why take the biggest replay factor away? The gameplay is actually really solid. It's basically the same as Fire Pro. You have buttons for light, medium, and strong grapples, and winning grapples is more about timing than button mashing. There are also running attacks and strikes, and certain wrestlers can come off the top rope. It's not groundbreaking, but it's completely playable and enjoyable. Movesets are good and varied, and even though he looks different, it's still a blast hitting a moonsault with Ken Kobashi. You'll notice there's a health bar for your wrestler, actually several of them, as you start out at blue and you work your way down to dark red and eventually nothing. You'll also slowly regain health over the course of a match, which leads to some nice back and forth action. After the match you get the time, how you won or lost, and some bizarre trash talk. Wear a diaper? What does that mean? Bring a mousetrap? Is this guy proposing some sort of weird death match?
Mousetrap from Milton Bradley.
This guy's complaining about a twisted ankle. Must be the Sin Cara of All Japan. Critically, again, nothing earth-shattering, but it gets the job done, gives a feel of those packed All Japan Budokan shows. The music is well done, and the sound effects are passable. And I like when you put someone in a submission hold, it sounds like someone chewing celery. Natsume Championship Wrestling was a game where I expected nothing, but found a pretty fun game. It doesn't really excel or innovate, but presents a nice overall package. It's a solid B-plus player, which I mean as a compliment. You can probably find it for a few bucks at a flea market, and it's also on the Virtual Console. If that means anything to you. Well, that's going to do it for now. For episode 53, we're kicking off the Spring of Sega as I dust off my Dreamcast for the next few eps. Make sure you stop by our Pro Wrestling T-shirt to pick up one of our swanky shirts. Until next time, thanks for watching, and remember, a winner is you.